Welcome back. Hello. It is the Mountain Biking in South East Queensland podcast. I'm joined by the always in focus, Lachlan Ryan. But we are sadly missing the infinite wisdom of Hubcap.
Infinite wisdom, I like that one.
Do you like that?
Yep.
But we've substituted him with another man of wisdom.
Infinite wisdom as well. I think he's an infinite fan and maybe even part of the team. Are you?
Formerly part of the team.
Okay, yeah.
But still an infinite fan for sure.
Welcome, Lonnie.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thanks for being with us. What do you want to start with, Oppy? You've taken the reins. Do you want to start with the first question? Shall I?
Yeah. Well, welcome, Lonnie. Thanks for coming along and having a chat to us. You know, in South East Queensland, you've certainly been one of the notable personalities and people. A peer of the scene. So, yeah, I thought it'd be great to have you along and talk to your experience in mountain biking and also with the Rats as a former president and events.
Glad
and
you said
all
former.
things.
You've definitely been around since I've been involved in photography of events and, you've just always sort of been there with Rats events. And but I feel like there's a lot more to what you've been involved in than what I've seen and what a lot of people have seen that I'm really keen to explore a little bit. And I know you've got your own racing and your own other involvements and performing and all kinds of stuff that you do. So I think we're going to have a great chat tonight.
Well, let's start with some of the obvious things. What was your first mountain bike?
Oh, so I think wasn't really a mountain bike. It was a hybrid. It was a Repco steel thing. Full rigid. It didn't like Tui Forest too much. Before Tui Forest was off limits, I may have bent a fork or two. But then my first real mountain bike was a Avanti. I think it's a Barracuda or something like that. I'm trying to remember the name, but I can't remember it. But yeah, that was an alloy piece with Marzocchi front forks. With a huge 80 mils of travel.
And rim brakes probably still at that stage.
And cantilever brakes for sure, yep.
Those were the days.
And give us a year, did you say?
Sorry?
What time?
Oh, that would have been...
Lost to the mysteries of time.
No, that's probably beyond me. Probably
Been
about
riding for a while.
2003, 2004.
Yeah, okay.
The Repco bike was way before that. That was probably like mid-90s.
Yeah. So I feel like we've got Oppy started 10, 15 years before that riding. Is that correct?
I got my first mountain bike in 1990. So
Yeah, and then
before that, it was BMXs and 12 speeds in the bush.
you'd be on par with when Hubcap got into riding, I think, mountain biking. And then I was another 10 years later when I got into it. So, yeah. Tell us a little bit about, did you start racing before you got involved with clubs or anything?
Yeah. No, it was probably more the social rides that I got involved with, just trying to find new friends to ride with. It's the usual thing. So yeah, I think did a few Saturday morning rides and then heard about the racing pieces and got in that way. So yeah, probably social first and then moved on from that.
So you started riding in and around Tui Forest.
Yeah.
But I think the Rats are much more built up around the southern part of Brisbane. In fact, they were formerly the
South Brisbane Rats. So.
Brisbane, yeah, the Racing
Brisbane
and Touring
South,
Social.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we changed names for a few years to Brisbane South Mountain Bike Club, and then I think the Rats always stuck. And I liked the Rats. I remember the inauguration of the club. That's how old I am. But so did you start off riding around Tui? Did you ride much other places before you got interacting with the club?
No, it was just Tui and then Daisy with the club. So yeah, it was just a trial by error. So got into it that way. So yeah, and I was in Daisy when I saw these groups come past and went, oh, there's some people I could ride with. And then I think the next weekend I showed up and came to the social ride and then eventually came on as a member. So a few years ago now.
Yeah. So how many? I think the club's been around for 25 plus years. The Rats.
Longer.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's been a long time.
And you were the president of the club for a number of years?
Yep. So I've just finished my presidency run early this year. So I think it was 3 or 4 years. 3 years as president, 4 years as president.
Congratulations.
2 or 3 years as vice president. So
I feel like presidency also, you were also race director. Like, I don't know how the roles sort of, the roles are, but.
So when I joined the club, I actually got into the race piece fairly early. So my background, I've got a number of different backgrounds, but one of them was in rugby. I was working professionally there with the Reds. And I finished up that role, and mountain bike was really my saviour at that point. And I got involved with the club, and I'm going to blame Owen Matthews from Ride Mechanic. He goes, "Oh, you've got this experience. Maybe you could run an event." So I got introduced to Ado from Cyclinic, and all of a sudden here I am, race director for the Sunshine Series. Hadn't done it before, and then from there it's gone to Baby Blast, to Rats club events, and everything else in between. So.
Oh, you're giving me good memories, because you're still in my phone, I think, as Lonnie Sunshine Series. I think that's how I put you in at first, and I think we chatted on the phone at some point. But I'm thinking around 2013. I did a video with Aiden was involved. You were involved. Is that were you in a couple of years before that?
No, it wasn't before that.
No.
So it's probably around that 2013 that I got started. So I finished with the Reds in 2012. And then moved into, I needed something to improve my mental health, and mountain biking was it.
Yeah, right.
And then certainly getting involved with the club stuff, because of the skill set I had behind me, sort of was a natural progression.
Yeah, wow.
Do you have a favourite trail in Daisy? Or not even just Daisy. Do you have a favourite mountain bike trail?
Probably. I don't want to say it too loud because I don't want people to ride there.
Oh, well, we can. Not as good as a wing.
No, Cornubia is my favourite. And Wallam Froglet at Cornubia is right up there. Resurrection is probably a toss-up between those two. Just that old school hand-cut, rocky.
Yeah.
My favourite trails are trails at the last 6 months of their life before Trail Care comes in and refurbishes them. So I know when I love a trail, it's not going to last for long. People are going to start complaining because, they've dumbed it down, when in reality it's just time to refurbish it. So,
So you love the technical challenge?
Rocky, techie, loose. I don't like jumps. I don't like machine-built trails.
Controversial.
Even though machine-built trails are a massive part of what we need, I don't like riding them. So not until they're 5, 6, 7 years down the track, they've narrowed up, they've become rutted out, they've become rocky and loose. I do like Hidden Vale for that piece. You don't get a smooth trail at Hidden Vale for too long, because it becomes pretty rocky pretty quickly.
For sure.
I think that's something that I find with riders that started before machine built trail existed. It's what they grew up on and what they preferences on. So I can empathise with that, and I've got a special place in my heart for Wallam Froglet, because I was lucky enough to be there during parts of the construction with Logan City Council. So there's a little ferny, narrow culvert over the little gully line. That's my favourite bit.
Is that the one with the rocky drop in? It's like a rock on the side if you can go up on that drop in through. So
there's a few secret lines on that, and it's interesting to go from there and look at how riders ride the sort of the A features that aren't obvious, and then when you go back into Daisy Hill, that kind of you don't see those A features. It's a lot more mass market, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
So
they're there. There are features in Daisy that you can ride and not be off the line and make your ride a little bit more exciting. Most people don't know that they're there, and they just miss them. So
yeah, you've got to have that trail eye. Yeah. There's actually some really big rock boulders on Glider behind the quarry that you can actually ride up and over the boulder. You don't have to go.
Funny you mentioned Glider. So my first ever trail care or trail build experience just happened to be on Glider 2, which, for those who might not know, is the section between the dam and the fire road, not the second piece on from Nirvana.
Ripley?
Yeah.
Which come down Ripley.
Happened to be your build back in the day. So yes, that was my first ever trail build experience. So
that's lovely to hear. I can't say I do remember building the trail on the project, so I coordinated the trail care.
I was just one of 20
program
or 30.
I'm feeling bad over here because Cornubia is one of my least ridden trail networks at all around.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll have it to myself.
It's hard. I mean, because you live so close to
right
Trail.
now, Scribbly Gums, yeah. And I've avoided saying where I started riding because it was Whites Hill, and
Things have moved on.
yeah. But like I grew up next to, like I could walk 10 meters over the road and I'm in Whites Hill.
Yeah.
So I can say as a 15-year-old when I had a mountain bike that I didn't know any better. But even when I was a touch older, you know, when I first realized that, there's things that come off these fire trails that are really fun, that was like my eyes opened to mountain biking. And so for a short time, I was riding some of those trails, and they're very similar to what I think you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Loose and
So funny you mentioned Whites Hill. So I grew up Mount Gravatt. I was Cav Road State High School. So Whites Hill's just across the road. But before I had a mountain bike was on my BMX, we used to get chased out of the quarry by the guards and up into what we'd pop through the fence into Whites Hill at that stage because there wasn't any real. It was so much rubbish in that place at that stage. There was car bodies. There was so much stuff in there. It wasn't the pristine area that it is now.
Yeah, if you compare the outrage over a couple of wheels rolling through compared to what I saw that too. Yeah. Old dumps and things that were around the place and the quarry. Did you do the cliff dive?
I didn't.
So on the southern side of Pine Mountain Road, the quarry there, which I can't remember who last owned it, but that used to be a huge water body. It's been filled.
Mm.
It's now, it's amazing. They're going to put houses on it. And I just go, we used to... So, yeah, I did the old jumping into quarry voids, especially, you know, when you're young and naive.
Oh, totally. Sadly, I do believe there was an incident.
There was.
The end of that one. Yeah, which is sad to hear. But, I think
we don't endorse past activities.
We need a disclaimer to show up on screen here because I can't think of it right now. But don't do it.
Yeah.
Having said that, like
Daisy Hill Quarry Jump, there's another one there as well. So
there's one that's about like 3 meters into. I don't know if there's anything more than that in there. Just over the
at the main entrance, everyone does it. So all the recreational swimmers.
It's a lovely. So that quarry is actually quite lovely freshwater body to swim in.
Yeah.
The old Pine Mountain Quarry. The water was like a light blue colour, so it was very acid. So if you swam there a lot, you actually developed skin conditions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure. It
was not good.
For those listening, I was scratching my arms. So I'm still recovering. No, I only jumped in there once, but certainly snuck in a few times, and it was there was 100 metres or 200 metres from my house, the quarry. So, yeah. But as far as like this, taking risks early in life and learning to ride and even just cornering and not falling off and things like that, the sooner you get in and do that, that's always been my belief. The earlier you actually learn to take the risks properly, the less likely you'll get proper injured or learn how to, not jump in off a cliff and then
to check before you leap.
Yeah, you learn the safety along the way if you just dabble, early on in life.
So when I started mountain biking, I'm sure I've said this before, with the Ipswich Club, the Ipswich Off-Road Cyclists, our motto was, if you go, I go. So we would egg each other on to be the first person to ride down something that looked unrideable, which of course led to a lot of people just crashing. But conversely, when someone made it, everyone just went, "Ugh," and then you had to go because But it did progress your skills, and I mean, we rode in places that don't exist or are off completely off limits now. Old slag heaps from the back of old coal mines and all those places. But the reason I bring that up is because when we talk about Whites Hill, there were a lot more what I call brownfield sites, so former industrial or former grazing or farming land. And the reason Whites Hills have got more status now is those brownfield sites are gone. They've been developed. So everything of green vegetation that's left in and around the urban corner of South East Queensland has some sort of conservation estate or parkland. So I used to, in the bush behind my house when I was a kid, we'd go in there and we'd be pulling out saplings and building thatched, cubbies. If you were caught doing that in a conservation reserve now, the local environment group would have your guts for gardens.
Hung up and quartered. So,
but it's a generational change.
It is, but I think the other thing is that what we're losing that appreciation for the bush, and that's why most of us love mountain biking. Is that we love riding a bike. We don't want to ride on the road because what's there? It's just concrete jungle, cars, trucks. I love the piece of going past a tree. I love the piece of seeing a wildflower and stopping. Not that I do it often. I don't like to stop when I ride, but when I do, if I see something pretty, you want to appreciate it. If you see an animal, you want to stop and appreciate it, whether it's a snake, whether it's a koala or a possum. Not a big fan of possums, but they're there. They're part of the ecosystem. So I appreciate it all. I've seen either late in the afternoon or early evening if you're out on the bike under lights and you're seeing some owls, and it's just amazing. It brings that real connection to the land. And so I think with people getting pushed out and mountain bikers getting pushed out of areas, we only have a very small people in those areas, a very small number appreciating it, and a very small number of people of understanding of why we need to protect it. So yes, there is an argument to push people out and say, we're just going to have it save it for the environment, but we'll actually lose the reason why. We'll actually lose the appreciation of how pretty it is, how special it is. And whilst people will say that there's a heavier price to pay from an environmental perspective for mountain bikers, the research is in. It's not true. So we know that, but trying to convince the green movements who their heart is in the right place. I don't agree with their extreme of their politics, but I understand their sentiments. So it's trying to get that balance, and that's forever going to be our challenge in Australia.
I think it has moved on. When mountain biking was a new and unknown, there was more concern, but now people have grown up with it. It's a norm.
Yeah.
And we've got people in decision-making parts of, public service and government that mountain biking is a normal thing that people do. And, the evidence is in, like you say, places have been established, and it's like, it didn't erode away. It didn't, we still have issues with competition for limited resources in urban areas, which is why you see that conflict really drop off as soon as you get out of the urban footprint and get out into the less populated areas. There's a really great example with Bayview, and the council there really wanted to activate that space to get people in and caring for it and looking after it and valuing it, because it was at risk of being changed from park to sold off for development.
That pressure is still there at Bayview, but because they're building right up to the edges. But the other element around Bayview is that they had a lot of illegal motorbike activity. Hang on. A lot of illegal motorbike activity, and the higher use of mountain bikers and horse riders sharing that space has, I wouldn't say policed them out of that area.
Displaced.
Displaced is the better word, because we've got activity for activities that the council wants and admits or allows, and then it's just pushing those guys out. And you used to hear them on the edge of the property all the time. You don't hear them anymore. Which again, I think is sad for them. They need a place to go as well. But yeah, it's just trying to find that where's the right space for everyone and in the right context and the right places. So a lot of the best trails in Bayview were the trails that they created with their motorbike footprint. So Maze, Shark's Tail, they were motorbike trails, and I used to love those trails.
Yeah.
So just tight, weavy, but you could just let it rip. So
yeah, it's where you activate a space with legitimate users, it really changes the users of that space. It displaces inappropriate, illegal, unauthorised activities. Motorbikes is a particular challenge. It's interesting to see there's a transition from internal combustion engine motorbikes. We've seen the rise of electric motorbikes, and I'm not talking about e-bikes. I'm talking about bicycles that don't meet motorbikes, not pedal assist.
Yeah.
They're not classified as e-bikes under our regulations that have thrived with the the arrival of new battery and electric vehicle technology. So that's a current challenge. But one of the things that I do see about that is their ability to annoy people from the noise is gone. Yes. So when you had two-stroke motorbikes cutting laps around and around reserves, you could annoy hundreds of people nearby. But electric bikes are actually a lot quieter, which means that potentially they can be integrated into spaces a lot closer to residential populations now because they don't have that noise issue.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you could have a
future challenge for us.
Well, there's a motocross track on the north side of Brisbane. It's next to the freeway and an industrial estate because that's a space where the noise impact is negligible.
Yeah.
But you could have, in the right space, you could have them a lot closer to, you could have a motocross track adjacent a much closer to a suburban area where people live now, and it'd be no noisier than your AFL match on the weekend. So
possibly less.
Yeah. So I mean, there may be, who knows? We're seeing the upswing of it now. In 5 years or 10 years, we'll see a different cohort of users. They might be using them in more appropriate ways, and like you say, in spaces that aren't premium conservation spaces or spaces where they're going to come into conflict with slower or more vulnerable users. So, we'll see.
Watch the space.
Watch the space. And I mean, the challenge is with any new cohort and e-bikes, I put this in that basket, they don't know the norms of how that community works. So, I've seen guys on e-bikes laughing and having a great time, but they're also blowing out uphill berms because trails just aren't designed for going 25 kilometres an hour up through them on a climbing trail.
With power on.
Yeah, on boost, on turbo.
Yeah.
So I think, once there's a bit more knowledge to how to use those, I think that user group will mature over time and become a bit more integrated for, street legal e-bikes. It certainly makes mountain biking as an activity a lower entry barrier. You don't have to have, 10, 15 hours a week of training.
Yeah.
You can go and do a 30, 40, 50K ride on your e-bike and enjoy it. You're not suffering and groveling to get to the top of the top of the hill. I think
we'll see.
Yeah,
I will have an e-bike at some time in the future. It won't be any time in the next 10 or 15 years, but
okay. Lonnie,
we'll have one in the future.
Today, I'm just making a note today. If we see Lonnie on an e-bike before the next 10 years are up,
it's just because I'm giving one a go.
Oh. Testing.
Just trialing out, mates.
Paramedics said when I was in the ambulance about a month ago that e-bikes were the main cause of bike crashes because, people who are keen and get on an e-bike without the experience of
new cohort. So this is so some of the like understanding between riders when you're approaching from different directions. It's like if you're going downhill with speed, it's easier to get going again than a rider who's, on his threshold going up. So classically, and a lot of people don't agree with it, but downhill riders are supposed to give way to ascending riders. It also means you've got to ride downhill under control in a two-directional trail.
Yeah.
So, but e-bikers are just like, I've never heard that rule before. What rule is this? And it's like those social norms of even just saying 2 more behind, it's just me, when so how many people are coming.
And it's that you mentioned for the descending under control. That's the secret. It doesn't mean you have to stop descending, but the number of people that can't descend slowly because they don't have the base skills. It's that's where I get frustrated. Is that you're mouthing off, but your base skills are actually poor. Can you track stand a bike? No, you can't. Well, that's why you're crashing, not because I'm climbing. You're climbing because you can't descend slowly. You can only send it, and even then, you're not sending it with control. You're on the edge of losing it into the bush. So,
which actually brings me to a point we were discussing before we started recording was about old bikes. So modern mountain bikes have really stable, they're longer wheelbase, slack head angles, dual suspension front and rear, powerful disc brakes, big grippy tyres. So they enable the travel speed of your average mountain biker now to be much higher.
Yep.
Whereas when you and I started riding, They were rigid. They had rim brakes.
26-inch wheels.
Yeah, and
1.9, I think, was the
that was a big tyre.
widest tyre that you had.
And I actually cracked out an old 26er and took it for a ride not that long ago. And they ascend really brilliantly because they're actually lighter than modern trail bikes. But when you turn and go down, the rim brakes don't work. And the tyres are up at like 35, 40 PSI because they're so small you'll pinch flat them otherwise. So they bounce off the ground. And, you literally narrow bars, high seat because you don't have a dropper post, long stem so your weight's right over the front wheel and you're like,
And then you're pushing your weight back to try and get that balance right.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's just sort of hinge, keep your weight on the front wheel, and you'll hold your line. The whole technique's changed. What I grew up learning has changed. What I used to teach my kids have changed. So yeah, it's just crazy what the way the development of bikes have gone and the way we've changed as a result. So
it's interesting. We talked about glider. That had a certain flow, a design speed, if you want. And you see now that like what were originally tight corners all had to be redone because your average punter is coming in at twice the speed.
Yeah.
And they brake harder and turn and so that whole it moves into that machine built trail. Everything's got a lot faster.
Yeah.
And so, I think the machine built trail is also mass market. It's easier to deliver more trail for less, quicker, and then maintain it with a machine as well.
And a lot less volunteer hours, as you and I would remember. I remember doing that trail glider. I remember going on to, what was the one that FTR was really heavily involved with the Cornebia team?
After
Ginger Gully.
Okay.
Ginger Gully. And that like hand cut berms, shipping in rocks by hand on wheelbarrows. And that led to petrol powered dumpers. And for me, like the crew at Cornebia have done a fantastic job to build all those trails on that steep gradient. Which is again why probably I like it because it's hard to get machine built trails in there. They put it in with Birdwing, and it's sort of the amount of upkeep that's required for that is more. So it's like, yeah, it's there. It's fun.
Yeah. So it's things change, move on. I still enjoy fire roads because I grew up blasting fire roads. We actually used to go and search out single track. We'd be riding across a farm road and see like a cow track, a tiny little heifer highway single track beaten in by the hooves, and we'd go and ride.
Going along it.
Only if they got wet. So
exactly.
If you're in a clay environment, that you get pockmarked, which is just terrible. But I mean, if they was dry, they would buff them smooth, and they were the first single tracks that we rode. And animals cows in particular, not so much wallabies, but cows in particular don't go straight up the fall line as much as they like to contour around the hills. So they make great single track. Just got to watch out for the deposits,
the wet deposits.
I still love the steep, rocky descents because it reminds me of White's Hill, and then little narrow bridges and things like that. That I think there's a nostalgia part of what you started out on or something that.
Well, I think this is what connects us all for cycling so much. For so many of us, it takes us back to when we were young. It makes us feel like we were 10 years old again. And the only rule you had was you had to be home before the lights came on, the street lights came on. So it's like, for me, that's the sense of freedom that I get from it. And so when I talk about finding a place to get better mental health, that's what it is for me. It's that happy place to actually just go back to a lot less stressful time. So
yeah, well, I feel like from that point, you not only have found that for yourself, but you've clearly been, you're about giving back, obviously, through being a president of a club, being involved with other projects. What are some of the highlight things, or do you want to just cast your mind back? What are some of the projects and people when you started out through your club journey and getting involved that sort of are meaningful to you?
I think for me, a lot of the satisfaction I get is trying to make things easier for some of the trail builders. So worked heavily with Dean Villani here in the Redlands, trying to help him with getting easier access or better supported programs for trail care. it's been a struggle at times, and with changing in councils and processes, it's going to be a never-ending battle. If I look at what Logan's done in the last 2 years or 3 years, they've got a great childcare coordinator there now. It's working really well with Daisy Hill Childcare, with Cornubia Childcare, and with the Rats themselves. So, and we've seen that evolution where Redlands was the standout in terms of support for childcare and that advocacy work. And then it shifted to Logan, and I'm starting to feel a sense of it's coming back for Redlands. So not getting into the politics of it all, because you do have to work a lot with the politicians when you're in a president role, but you see that change in council and organisation.
But it says a lot for just a key person in a council that drives it. Is that how it sort of seems to work?
Yeah, and certainly for like Leo Newlands, who's been heavily involved with the club, he was also heavily involved with Redlands Council. He was a conduit for a lot of that work. He did a lot of the strategic planning of parks and trying to connect the parks up. And whilst it hasn't been achieved yet, it's certainly one of the things I'm proud of, is the fact that we're really moving towards this Koala Coast trail network, where Daisy Hill will be connected up to Eastern Escarpment, which will be connected up through, hopefully, Sirame, and then through out to Heineman Road, which is then connected up to Bayview. Bayview's connected up to Gramsau Road. Everyone said, when the club got a grant and spent money on developing Gramsau Road, what a waste. It's just a single lane road. Why did you spend that money? Well, the strategy from a club perspective was to connect up Cornubia with Bayview, with a corridor that we could ride off-road away from all the other cars. So you see that piece of planning now coming into value, because we've got Cornubia almost connected to Daisy. The state government, in the last state government with Mick de Brenny, purchased that piece of land, of the Shayla residents' land, and that's looking like we can then get those connected up. We've got a couple of easements to work around, and you still have the national park there, but you start to see the shape of that really becoming a possibility now. So yeah, it's
So who created the master plan for this? Because I mean, you've got volunteers in clubs, and then you've got council, where sometimes someone stays for a long time, other times there's a high turnover. Like, where did it come from?
I think that I'm not sure where the actual plan came from. Certainly the Rats before me, under Tony Hancock, had this idea of connected communities. So all these, Daisy Hill would act as a hub for other ride areas. So trying to connect Daisy with, I'm trying to remember the name of the park.
Another network?
North or south?
It's north, but near the Gateway Arterial Road. Not a lot of single trail there.
Daisy, not Karawatha.
Karawatha.
It is, yeah.
Yep. Linking that with Karawatha, linking with Tui if it was available to be opened up. Not that you can do it, but you've got the bike lane, you've got the bike path there now, so the V1. So, but yeah, and then that with the Koala Coast, we've got not quite sanctioned trails, but certainly you've got pieces here in Brisbane City Council that there's connections through with the Koala Conservation Area that you can ride on certain fire roads through that area, and you can link that up. But yeah, that was the idea of connected communities, of really looking at all these places so you can go from one to the other without having to hop in your car and drive around. Yes, it's an expedition type of process, and that was one of my COVID rides. We did 7 parks in one day. I think there was me and my normal training partner, Keith. Just happened to be some other riders that may consume Infinite who happened to pair up on the same day and were separated by us from about 50 metres, and there was another pair. I think there was like 6 or 7 pairs of riders under the COVID rules that went out and did a 100k adventure because it was within the rules. So, but yeah, it certainly made it that's the style of piece that we're looking at for the club, and that's what I'm really proud of, that we're close. We need successive governments to buy into it. And with 2032 looking for tourism opportunities or other activities, it's certainly a really hopeful project.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting piece to look at how you can join all of them together to create something more than the sum of its parts. And the best example is the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail. It was developed there were bits.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of use. But once they had that coordinated strategy in place to connect the whole thing, it grew exponentially, and it has revitalised those towns. So when you look at things like what Derby in Tasmania did for developing a region and creating an attraction, having a regional trail that connects all of those parks, it becomes a destination to go and to ride, and it will bring riders in to a region. So, you know, there's a few of those things. I know the North Brisbane Trail Alliance.
Yes.
Put together some regional mapping to look at connecting parks together on the north side and how it would create more than the sum of its parts. So these are ideas that are good ideas whose time hasn't necessarily come.
Yeah.
And when they get close to fruition and they start to bear fruit, they will gather momentum, and politicians will recognise the value of it, and you'll see it move forward. I was really interested to see, 2032 is not that far off, and
It's not.
there's been a move to create legacy projects and to leave something for the residents of South East Queensland. So, we talked briefly about the mountain bike facility that's going to be created on the Sunshine Coast, but there was also a recent idea of a regional trail starting in the CBD in Brisbane, going up through Mount Cootha, Mount Nebo, Mount Glorious, all the way up to Mount Alfred up near Kilcoy, the full length of Diagula Range South and Diagula Range North National Park. So, regional trails, they're on the agenda. So hopefully...
Long rides.
Long live, long rides. I think that's the IMBA motto for IMBA Epics.
Yeah,
So,
and certainly the IMBA Epic status is something that there's questions, is that possible for the Koala Coast piece to be considered in that same light? Now, I think there's going to be too many road crossings, but look, what's to say that that can't be a vision? And if you fall short of a great vision, then you're still going to have a really good outcome for the community. So I think that's, for me, one of the things I'm excited about. I'm hopeful for. We're really lucky we've had Mick de Brenny when he was in government with the Labor Party supporting it. We've got the Redlands member, Rebecca Young, who's supporting of it. So we've got both sides of politics that are really supportive of the project, and it's just going to take some time. And it's still not just them. We've got Redlands involved, Redlands councillors involved, Logan City councillors involved. So national parks are probably going to be involved as well. So there's so many stakeholders, let alone the traditional owners as well, other interested parties. So it's a really exciting project, and I do hope we get there. So
success builds success, and I do see these things building upon each other, and the lessons learned go forward. And it's a time. I think the time will come. I think it's such an obvious win. It's just about when all the pieces line up, it'll be an overnight success. 20 years in the making.
Exactly.
It's true. I mean,
exactly.
That's kind of the process. And I think you and I are of a slightly older generation. You have that perspective to look at these things now and see how far we've come in the 25, 30 or longer time that we've been riding, and see that change. It's gone from an unauthorised activity done by anti-establishment, anti-authority, traditionally, 99% young men, to it's family friendly now. You go to the parks and there's kids being coached. There's a kids cycling group that go out and take the kids out every weekend. It's accessible. It's family friendly. It's
healthy.
It's so many.
As a parent, they're not on their iPhones. They're not watching. They're not getting subjected by social media barrage. They're on their bikes. They're out in the bush. Their heart rate's getting elevated. Yes, they eat sugar, but they're burning it off. So it's like, it's connection that you don't get from being in front of a computer. So so many healthy elements to it, for sure.
And I think there's a big untapped potential for greater recognition of traditional owners and taking people out to these landscapes and to these features. So, I grew up riding out at White Rock Spring Mountain.
Yep.
And, I'm learning as an adult about the significance of White Rock to the traditional owners. So it's, and the stories. And it's like, wow, this is, the oldest living culture in the world.
But it means that little bit more since you were immersed in it when you were younger, right?
Yeah, so it's funny, we did speak about this briefly. I feel a real connection to place.
Yep.
When I'm out there. This is going to sound a bit cringy, but this is the place where my dad and my dad's dad, used to hunt. Yep. They used to take out their 22s and hunt out there. And, I grew up living in that landscape and in the back of a four-wheel drive in the 70s. But it's funny because I go back there and it feels home. And I think, Jesus, how much must it mean to the people who've lived there for thousands of years? And I just think, I didn't appreciate that as a kid or a young adult. And, you look back on it and go, I've learned a bit since then. And I hope that, there's opportunities for newer generations to have better connection.
I've just come back from a cycling holiday, so
we were going to get to this.
I know, but it's a good segue from this. So Cape York Adventures, you organised bike tour. We were there for my wife's 50th birthday. Sorry.
We'll bleep that out later. It's fine.
No, leave it in. We're there for Lisa's 50th. There was a stack of us from South East Queensland there, lots of Rats members and others. Had people from Noosa and Sunshine Coast. We had people right
where
from
did you start? Where did you go to?
Yeah, so we left Cairns, flew to Cowan, and then it was a 500-kilometre, predominantly four-wheel drive track and development road cycle all the way up to the top. So it was 7 days. What was amazing about it is that you have guides there, so everything's catered for. Cape York Adventures, look them up. They were really, really good. But what was really special is the tour guides, their connection to country, their connection to Aboriginal culture. They're white Australians, but they're so invested in that community to help them thrive and help them improve. They know they're not the solution, but they know they've got a place to play in educating people. And there's so many heartfelt moments being on that trip where they shared their experiences. You've got teachers, you've got principals that are the ride guides. They're not professional ride guides, and that's their only job. They've got career jobs, but they feel it important to share this special place, and not just the place, but the culture that goes with it. So we got taught some Torres Strait Creole, just trying to get understanding of how everything works. One of the elders was doing a tour with with two other people. It's a private tour, and our ride leader just said, could you have a quick chat to us? I know you're on a tour here, but we had a group here that's interested, and he spent 15 minutes talking to us and welcoming to his part of the country and his country. So it was just amazing just to feel that culture. And they talk about songlines in Aboriginal culture, and as I'm riding through these four-wheel drive tracks and you're seeing these lines go off, whether they're cattle lines or whatever, but just the whole thought about that, the song lines and the culture that's flowed through that area and continues to flow through that area was just amazing. Along with the four-wheel drives and the motorbikes and everyone else. But certainly for me, the highlight was just that cultural piece. It's just amazing.
Wow. That hits me at the moment because I don't know if you saw, I did the Bunyata Bay journey. I filmed students going down the Brisbane River.
Yep.
And they meet with Indigenous elders on the way. So out on Eastern Branch Road near the top of the Brisbane River, I'm not sure if you've ever been out there on a bike, but doing those those crossings, and there was some water through some of those crossings when they rode through. Beautiful country roads, gravel roads out there with no cars all day long that they're riding through, and then sitting down and just being amongst it and chatting with elders for an hour around a campfire. The way you're talking about that trip sounds to me like really what these students got to and you just connect with the country and you just feel this sense of belonging and welcome and everything. It's
I don't know how four-wheel drivers feel that same sense of connection up at the Cape, because they're barreling through, they're bouncing all over the place, and mountain bikes are actually quicker. They're on the four-wheel drive tracks and the four-wheel drives because they're taking all the drops like Palm Creek and Gunshot, all the big four-wheel drive pieces you see online. They're doing all that type of stuff, and we're just tapping along. We drop down and ride out the other side. Okay, we don't take the vertical drop, but we don't want to nose plant at the bottom into the mud and whatever else is down there. But it's the peace, and when the four-wheel drives weren't around, just that peace, and you're riding through. There was one time there I stopped and I shot a 45-second video to my work colleagues saying, check out where I am. I had no phone reception, so I had to save it till I got back. Got phone reception, immediately sent it.
Yep.
I'm not at work, check this out. So almost like a little middle finger to everyone at work still. I've never done that before.
Wish you were here.
But it was just, that solitude, because I was by myself at that point. Even though we were a group of 20, I was by myself. So just that solitude you got to have, and the serenity, and it's just, I haven't had a holiday like that in a long time.
Thanks for the invite, Lonnie. I think I might have missed it. I joke. This is a good point, though, for audience participation. I would love to know from people listening what cultural cycling experiences are out there in South East Queensland or are in the making. Maybe there's some, yet to be designed and like culturally woven into, a journey somewhere.
I'd love to have one out to North Stratty. Part of our training, because there is so much sand and we didn't do enough sand riding for preparation, was to go to North Stratty. Riding over there and then getting onto the beach on the eastern side and at low tide. It's probably, I need to do way more of that. But just having, and even just riding through the centre on some of the roads there, it's different. It feels like a whole nother world. You get off the ferry and you start riding your bike on the island, and it's just a whole nother world.
Yeah, Quandamooka country.
It is
Matthew Burns is a local over there. He does a really good show. He does it for students mostly, but also adults. I've seen him training new and upcoming principals at specific days where they're being trained on how to incorporate First Nations culture into their schools, and he talks through the history. He's a Stratty local, talks through the history, the weapons, the how they hunted, and starts a fire and throws a spear. And we were throwing boomerangs with the Bundy Bay students on Stratty just a few weeks back. And so he could have potentially maybe you can incorporate some cycling into an experience at some point.
I think the Rats used to do an annual Stratty trip.
Yeah, it was before my time, but
I think I've done two or three.
Redo it again. So
because different times.
There was another bus trip we were talking about too, wasn't there, up north?
Yeah, so we did. The Rats organised a couple of trips to national titles and state titles, and bung sweaty dirty mountain bikers in a bus that drive them to Canberra.
Was it really about the national titles, or was it about the road trip and the drinking going with it? So
well, I was underage, so
that's what I mean.
So I couldn't.
What's your point?
Well, I couldn't drive down there, so it was an interesting time. And we did have juniors that came with us, so look, I think those social aspects have always been a big part of the Rats. It's the racing and touring social.
Yeah. So now Rats is racing, advocacy, trail care, and social. So still social is still a key. For me, the Rats Saturday social ride is still the absolute core of the club. It's really important that. So what we find, and people say, numbers keep dropping off. That for me is not a bad thing. That's actually success. For me, the social ride is, I'm new to mountain biking. I don't have friends to ride with. I come and ride with a social group for 6 months, and I form some really close friendships, and we decide to stop riding with the social group because our group is, I've got friends to ride with. That for me is success. Okay, the numbers may come up and down in terms of the social group. That's fine. If everyone who joined the social group still stayed, we'd have 500 riders coming every morning every Saturday morning to do a social ride. That's not sustainable. So I think for me, if people have started mountain biking, don't have regular groups, find your tribe through social groups. So through club social rides, whether it's us, North Brisbane, Mount Cotton Riders, it doesn't really matter. Just find your group. You'll find friends, and then won't need a social ride. You'll go on and say, I can't ride this Saturday morning. How about we go Sunday morning? Oh no, I'll have too many on Sunday morning. Let's go Saturday afternoon before we go out the piss. So it's sort of just trying to find that your group, and you do. So which is really important for us to do.
It's a refined definition of success. No, it is, because, I mean, I've certainly witnessed a huge change in club culture. You know, the first clubs I was a member of, there was no membership fee. There was no insurance. It was like, it was a club by name.
Yeah.
And then it was a case of, if we want to go racing, we're going to become incorporated, and we're going to have matching jerseys, and we're going to turn up to races. And then at that stage, we still had Cycling Queensland, which was a subsidiary of, it wasn't called Cycling Australia back then, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we went through the various modes of Mountain Bike Australia, now with Oz Cycling, but as it gets more and more formal, you know, the costs have gone up, the barriers to entry, and the club ride in some parts has disappeared as a victim of that, because you have to pay at least $10 to join the club to even participate in the club ride.
Yeah.
But you know, Rats have done a lot with supporting development and even subsidising people's club ride fees. You know, 3 free rides and all this kind of thing to build those numbers. And I think in some parts, social media has helped that other people to self-organise.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I don't think formal clubs compete with that, but it's another alternative. So, and I think the other thing that really changed in that dynamic was clubs were about if you rode, you raced.
Yes.
And that was a big aspect of mountain biking, and that's slowly moved away to people now who will never race, aren't interested in racing. They've got just as flash bikes and gear, and they consider themselves
more flash. They're not travelling all over the place, so they can spend more money on their bikes.
Yeah, just as much a mountain biker as part of who they are, but it's purely recreational. So that's been an interesting change.
My piece for those who just ride recreationally, I'd love to see them involved in trailcare. I don't care whether people race or not. Like, yes, I've commissared a lot of races. I've done a race directing for a lot of races, but for me, it's not what it's about. It's about getting out on the trails and enjoying that experience that we spoke about earlier. So, for people that ride recreationally, it's not a council. Yes, council does some of that work, but most of the trails around South East Queensland are done by volunteer trailcare people. So, yes, we've got the Trail Works and Guru, MTB, Blue Sky. You got all these different companies that are contributing to that piece, and they're getting paid for their time. But most of the work is actually done by volunteers. So I'd love to see more people be more involved in that. If I had one wish out of all the processes, is to have people do just a little bit, and then because the other thing I find is that people go, they're so critical of what trail cares does. And like I said, I love the last 6 months of a trail. I know that it's going to get worked over and be made more sustainable next time it's done. And I have to accept that. But it's also done by volunteers who take their work really personally. They love the work they do. They take pride in it. And then they get shot down by keyboard warriors who have never lifted a shovel in their life.
No dig, no ride.
Well,
so I used to
I'd love to have that.
I used to say, if everyone came to trail care once a year, everyone would only have to come once a year.
Exactly. But remember when you were a kid? What would you do? You'd grab a shovel, you'd go out into a paddock somewhere, you'd build a jump, you'd do that work yourself, and then you'd ride it. Well, what's stopping you as an adult to do the same thing? You're probably more capable to come out and do that now than when you were a kid. And trying to get that through to people, it's
a change in culture. People are, it's a generational change. Mountain biking has always been available as an option for kids now. Yep. They haven't had to build their own trails. Like when I started riding, if you hadn't built it, like I said, we were chasing cow tracks. So I think some of that has that expectation has gone away. But there's a lot of value in going and understanding, and you can't understand the compromises that are required to get the trail through. It's like, why did you go around that rock? It's like, well, because if we'd gone over it, then the next part of the trail would have been too steep, and it would have started to carry more water, and it started to erode, which means that more sediment's going to end up in the creek. And when we fill in all the little holes in the creek, that's where all the freshwater crustaceans live that the platypus eats.
Yeah.
You know, it does have impacts.
Effect. Yeah.
And build a greater understanding of, geez, it's actually really hard work to dig a trail. Maybe I'll stop shortcutting and skidding into every turn, and and it's still a lot. I still get a lot out of it. I still enjoy a lot of fun, but I think there'll always be a mix between those that have time, those that don't understand, and I don't think mountain bike culture is as strong as it used to be. I think you've got a lot of people that because of that separation from clubs and peers that can say, hey, this is how things work. It's like, come on and give back one day a year.
Yeah.
You've got groups of people that have got together and ride that have no connection. And it's really difficult to reach out to isolated groups.
Yeah.
And
I think the other piece is that there are so many formal trails now. Like the growth in trails that are available in the last 15 years is massive. So in the past, there was maybe 2 or 3 places you could ride properly, legally, sanctioned, and then you needed to have a network of friends to find out all the other places you could ride. Now, thankfully, they've been sanctioned, but equally, because they have been sanctioned, that network and that culture that you're talking about, that's been lost a bit, because I just need to jump on Strava, heat map, where do people ride these days? Here. Whether it's legal or not, they don't care, but lots of people are riding this, so I must be able to do it. So that relationship you need to have with someone to have that knowledge, that's gone. So it's no longer needed.
There's no secret handshakes anymore. And to Strava off on this, no Strava on this trail. I think also though that there's also a societal piece to that, because culture has changed. People are working more hours, and they take longer to commute because the traffic's worse, because we've reached critical mass. And so people don't have the free time that they used to. And so, I want to get out and smash my ride, and then I've got 10 other things to do on the weekend. And so
that's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying it. Is this just are you just painting a picture of society as a whole? Are other sports losing touch, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every sport's struggling. Volunteerism in every category of sport, not just sport, but in the arts as well. So everyone's struggled with getting volunteers to.
The number of bowls clubs that are closing.
Bowls clubs, like golf clubs, like.
Oh, we can get rid of the golf clubs. Turn them into mountain bike trails.
Yeah.
But that's mountain biking is actually
Olympic venues, but it's not
true. Mountain biking is sort of going against the tide in a way for its popularity. It is one of the fastest growing outdoor, the fastest growing outdoor recreation activity.
It's because it's fun. It's very fun.
I find, I think there's an element of play, and we have kind of talked about this. You can interact with the trail a bit more. Road biking is a bit more static. Have you got the right sock length? Are you at the right, cappuccino, macchiato?
I'm 105 kilos. There's no way that I compete on any of those road circuits. Any climbs, like, see you guys, I'll catch you at the top, or I'll see you at the end of the ride.
So crits are for you. This is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, even crits. I don't like a high heart rate. I like to go for a long time and a very steady heart rate. So, so 8 hours, no problem.
Well, this is interesting because your number plate on your car. Well, I don't know whether we should tell people what it is or not. MTB 24.
I did spot him because we live close. I spotted him a week back driving through
a red light.
Capella.
Oh, no, Capella.
Through a red light. No.
So you have a bit of a soft spot for the endurance event?
Yeah. So I think I've never been fast.
Comparatively.
Mountain
biking's hard.
If we look at XCO races, I'm never fast. If we look at gravity stuff, I'm never fast. So I am drawn to 24-hour races because it's, one, how much distance can I do? It's not about me competing against another guy. It's how can I dial in nutrition, and that's where Infinite came into the place early on, and how can I get the most out of my body? So it's real thought process. And a couple of years ago, we did nationals at Armidale. I chose to put warm weather clothes on at 11 p.m. before it was cold. And at 1 p.m., half the race stopped because they were cold. They couldn't get their body temperature up. I'd made, so just thinking, just being, trying to use my brain rather than actually my physical elements to try and stay ahead or try and catch up in that case to others. And I didn't catch up to everyone, but
was Jason English there?
Yeah, Jason was.
I don't think anyone catches him.
So, I'm not
a
sure
vanishingly small percentage.
Jason, the amount of stories. Just sorry, we'll come back to you in a second. But like, he's someone you hear from everyone, whether they're fast or slow. Oh yeah, that guy. Well, he was having a chat with me as he rode past me multiple times, and he sounds like just like the nicest guy to chat to out on.
Really, Jason's a really interesting guy. I got him to coach me for a couple of years leading into 2016 Worlds. Wow. And then we've formed a good relationship since then. If he's come here to deliver mountain bike courses close to our area, say, mate, don't stay at a hotel, just crash at our place. We'll have, and so caught up a lot. And I happened to be in Italy, or happened to go to Europe a couple of years back on the tail end of COVID for work, and it was coinciding with World Endurance Champs in Finale Ligier, and it's just that, Jace, if I can't get there in time to race, I'll come and support you. I worked out I couldn't get there in time to race, but I flew into Milan, drove down. I got to the race 30 minutes after it started, supported him for 24 hours in the race. Yeah. Didn't need a hotel that night, so it was an interesting weekend. So one way to get over jet lag, and supported him through the race. And so it's just, he's one of these guys, and he's talk about his talking. He will come up behind a rider and start talking from like 50 metres back. One, because he's such a nice guy. And two, to let them know he's coming. And then three, as a way to take I think it's a way to take his mind off the racing. You'll see him up there with the elites, and all the elites are riding together, and he's chapping away the whole time. It's just like, I'm sure if he stops talking, people are either scared or he's out the back. So he's a really interesting guy. I think there's quite a few of us here in South East Queensland in that endurance community that have formed really strong relationships with him, because he is just a genuinely nice guy and can ride a bike fast and for a long time.
I follow him on Strava just for the novelty of going, what crazy ride has he done now? It's just,
Everesting on eggs. So he came and did the Hidden Vale 24-hour, and he did it on hot cross buns because it was Easter. Hot cross buns. He's since found out that he's gluten intolerant, so it's like it wasn't a great race. He still won it, but it wasn't a great race from that perspective. And
can you have too much gluten that gives you intolerance maybe? During 24-hour race.
So it was a really interesting piece, because we'd pick him up from the airport on the Saturday, he'd go race, and drop him back to the airport on the Sunday. He hasn't got any accommodation. He's come in. It's just crazy. So, but that's he's such a nice guy. People will go out of their way to help him, and he too will help others. So it's been really, really good to have that relationship.
Plenty of time to self-reflect on a 24-hour ride. He's obviously worked on his character and his friendliness during that time.
I remember a couple of years back, he did World Enduro Champs in US one weekend, flew back, and then raced the Nationals the very next weekend. Now, why it was chosen to have the Nationals a week after Worlds, I have no idea.
They didn't think there was an intersecting set.
There's one obvious one, given that he was the six-time world championship going into that.
Maybe some of the locals wanted. They're like, I've got a scheme. We're going to take the championship this year. We're going to tire him out the week before.
Well, I hope 24-hour champs continue to go for many, many years, because that's going to be my only way that I'll get a world championship. Is that
Masters.
I'm in Masters 12 plus, and I'm the only starter on the start line, but I'll get that jersey.
You might have some stiff competition from myself and Hubcap.
True.
We're waiting it out too.
And even taking a seat off Hubcap's bike won't stop him. So he's not here to pay out on. So even if he was, I would. But
he's always funny to interview, because there's been a few times after a 24 I've been there with the camera, and one time he was going, I've got T-Rex hands, I can't move them. They're just stuck, locked in this position.
It's not uncommon to see him on the side of the road. I think it's actually sleeping, but he may have fallen off his bike to get to that sleeping position. So he does go hard.
Go till he drops. But you haven't done a 24-hour.
Not solo.
Oh, no. Not solo. You've done one.
No, I did it as a team, and I regret doing it, because we were a mixed team of recreational riders and racers.
Yep. And was it at Coralban?
Hidden Vale.
Okay. So my very first mountain bike race, was at Coralban. 24-hour. This was well before what it is today. And there was still the skydiving centre out there, and I used to jump out of planes in those days.
Cool.
But yeah, we did a 24-hour race out there, and it was, again, some guys that are really serious that were doing laps in 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and me who was taking an hour and 20 minutes to do the lap. It wasn't a good mix, but I had fun. So, and I realised then I don't like doing hot laps, so doing slow, steady, regular heart rate laps.
So
love that. So
there's a real nuance in how you manage your team. So we were a team of 6, and in hindsight, it was too long between laps. So you get completely cooled down. Yep. You have a sleep. You wake up, and it's still not time to. And you're like, oh, what am I doing? I want to go ride my bike. So 2 or 3 is about the ideal. So with 2, it's back. You pretty much back to back hot laps. With 3, you just get enough time, rest, feed, clean your bike, and then you're out again. So
what you could do is you could do 2 or 3 who does the first 10 to 12 hours, and then the next one does the next 10 to 12 hours. You could do it that way. Not saying it's the right way, but just saying there's many ways to skin a cat.
But I do remember after, I think it was off second or third, and we had 3 riders, and they'd done like half-hour laps, and the 4th rider took like an hour 20, and it was like, well, there's no point in going out and doing half-hour laps now.
Yeah.
And when my call came at 3 a.m. to go out for a lap, I'm like, I'll be right. Send someone else out who wants to go. I'll be back at dawn.
Works for me.
Well, it was like, I think we were at the back of the pack, and it was like, I'm tired, I'll have a sleep. So, yeah, I think I would do it again. But
I do know some teams that have compulsory beers between their hot laps. So, and then the hot laps become slower and slower and slower, and everyone doesn't care because by 8 a.m. the next morning they go, and they just continue to drink beer instead.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that I really love about the community. You've got that whole spectrum, and I actually think that we've lost a lot of the fun aspect of racing. Like cross-country races. I do say that if you make it accessible for everyone, the elites will still turn up, and they will race whatever the track is. But if you don't make it accessible at the bottom end, you're not building the base.
Yeah.
And one of those events that is definitely building the base is Chicks in the Sticks.
Just gone last weekend. Don't know when this is showing, but from a recording perspective, it's just on the weekend.
This will be put out anywhere between 3 days and 3 years. No, that schedule got a bit askew, but we hope to release on
your irregular programming will continue.
Yeah, certainly the Chicks in the Sticks race is aimed at that participation level.
It's got best costume.
I think that's the key.
So fun.
That's the key. So I did question whether I should get dressed up this year, and because I took on the commissaire piece a couple of weeks to go, and I did question it, and I chose not to, and I'm glad I didn't because
you would have upstaged.
No. Like the ladies just take their costume not seriously, but they do put a lot of effort into it, and I just couldn't match that vibe. So you're either going to go all in or not at all. So
yeah.
There was a Teletubby there.
Not
the race director.
The race director. Oh. So the race director was a Teletubby. So
I thought you were talking about Team ET.
Well, Team ET was there, so
that was fabulous.
So given that my wife was one of the Team ET on a single speed, so that's.
And what are the classes of competitor?
Look, we've got so many different names.
There's the battery hens for
battery hens. Yep.
Mad yokers.
No, there's
chickadees.
Single yokers. Is it single yokers?
Single yoke. There's so many. There's the hard boiled double yokers and soft-boiled double yokers. And
I mean, I'm there for the puns.
Yeah.
Every single category is a pun. My favourite one that I helped come up with was 4 single speeds called clipped wings. So that's and given that I do like the single speed, it was it's good to have that.
What appeals to you about single speeding?
So social rides with people who are not that great at riding. I love riding at the back on my single speed. One, because if you're going up hills with a single speed and you don't have momentum, it's a whole different workout. So I can still get a lot of benefit fitness-wise out of a slow social ride being on the single speed at the back and not riding in tempo where I'm going up the hill, maintaining my cadence. So there's that piece. The other thing I love about single speeds is technically I'm a better rider from using a single speed.
When you say technically, you mean you're a better technical rider or you're better technically?
I'm a better technical rider after doing that. So cornering speed, carrying speed out of corners, looking at features and saying, what can I pump? Like using that pump track mentality, what can I pump on a trail to get some free speed without having to turn my legs over or getting speed out of a different part of my body. So just so many elements of that is
It's like because you remove the gear options and just focus.
The gear is my legs. So there's 3 gears. You can normal pedal, you can stand up pedal, or you can get off and walk.
That's known as the 24 gearage, 2 feet.
So I actually rode my single speed up to Cape York. So we had e-bikers, and for that it was just a matter of working with the bike shop so the team there at Pedal In, product placement here is loud.
Yeah,
Not the ABC.
I think we've mentioned them before. That's where my daughter got her bike.
Excellent, good. So Nick's really into his single speeds as well, but gravel stuff as well. We just worked out, okay, e-bikers are going to be on the tour. How fast they're going to go? They're going to go 25. So we picked a gear ratio that at 80 RPM is going to be at 23, 24. Great. Nice and comfortable. If they're at speed, then I can just roll along beside them. That's all I had to think about.
1 gear, many speeds.
So, well,
It depends how fast you can work on your cadence.
So it all comes down to cadence, what you can handle. So yeah, it was a good choice. And again, yes, you don't have to think, but then I'm thinking about line choices on corrugations and how can I get a run up for sand, or how do I carry speed across sand, and that's bloody hard. If we're going downhill on a development road, yes, I'm supposed to stick with the group, but I got a great wheel set that rolls like the wind. So I take out and take off in front of people and then just slow my speed up as we go up the other side to stay as a group. So yeah, it's just trying to do all those things thinking wise to do it a little bit differently and get through it.
Would you do a single speed 24?
Yeah, probably would.
Well, next single speed. I mean, next 24 coming up. There you go. Next time's the 24 in South East Queensland.
Well, one good thing about not being present is that I now have time to consider these things.
Say no.
I did my racing, or my personal pieces of racing has reduced over the last couple of years because I just haven't had time. But yeah, certainly a single speed 24 would be something that I think about. Again, I won't be anywhere near the front. Doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's just about getting out there and having fun. So
and talking to people at 3 a.m.
If you can keep up with them. So that's the trouble with there's maybe 30 seconds of conversation as they approach from behind and take off from the front. So that's okay.
So mountain biking clearly ticked the mental health. So where it first started out for you, it gave you that plus more by the sounds of it. And from what I see, I mean, you give back. I see you fist bumping kids at Chicks and the Sticks and at all the races. I've seen you everywhere, and I think it's just worth stopping for a moment and making this like a thank you for everything you do. Because I mean, even for me in mine, well, yeah, here you go.
You left some pretty big shoes to fill in after the presidency role in the Rats.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I probably was filling too many roles. And that makes it hard for people to follow, because not because I did a good job, but just because I'm in each different spot and they have to now connect with other people, whereas I was doing 2 roles, so I didn't have to connect with anyone. So that creates some challenges. The interesting thing about the fist bump is for the little kids, and so for parents who have got kids that are 4 or 5 year olds racing, just stop making it so serious.
Yeah.
Like you see these kids get on the start line, they're absolutely scared. You might have to beep that out, but
Lonnie,
I did say that. I did say you might have to beep some stuff out, but they're scared, and you see it in their eyes. And so the idea of the fist bump is to break that connection with their parents, so they can just relax a bit. So a big smile, fist bump. I'm blowing the whistle and you can ride. And that's the whole idea for me to do that, is trying to get the kids to stop being so uptight. What do we teach kids when they're riding their bike? Just socially, relax, strong position and relax. And here they are, they're all G'd up. Oh, it's your first race, you've got to go hard. No, you just got to ride your bike and have fun. You're doing it in a race. Okay, if you finish first, great. If you finish last, great. Are you having fun? Do you come off with a smile on your face? That's it. And so
I agree.
we race too young in Australia.
Right.
You look at all these videos for that Swiss and Europe, and it's all about skills. We race too young in Australia.
We're a sport-loving nation.
We can love the sport without racing.
But is mountain biking a sport or a recreation?
It's both. It's both.
and I think part of that, there is a legacy of it being a sport.
Yeah.
And we've got a little way to go on it being more a recreation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And we've had so many, like, being in that commissaire space and people arguing around how their kid's great, so they should race under 15s at 11 years old. Just let your kid have fun. Go do things with your child on the mountain biking perspective that's going to grow skill, grow stamina, without the pressure of racing. When they get to under 15 and they start to dabble into it, they'll be better for it. Let them play lots of sports. Yes, I was in the professional space for rugby. I didn't want a player that's just played rugby their whole life. I wanted one that's played soccer, AFL, rugby, raced bikes, swam, water polo. You want those athletes who are so broad that they're having fun. For mountain biking and for people who want to aspire to elite mountain biking, don't push it. If you want your child to do well, let them enjoy the sport first. Half the kids that we saw coming through at 10 years ago are actually more than half. Very few are racing elite now. They're mid-20s or late 20s. They're not racing elite sport anymore. Their love of the sport is gone.
That's a tragedy.
It's massive. It's massive. We look at the failure of national series in Oz cycling. Half of it is because we are allowing racing too early. Now, this is me getting a little political rant, but we're allowing racing too early. We should have kids to enjoy riding the bike for the joy of riding their bike. They'll come back. They'll do it for longer if they enjoy it. I saw professional athletes coming through rugby who got their first professional contract at 18 and finished by the time they were 21. Why? They didn't actually love the sport anymore. Oh, I've made it because I've got a contract. Well, no, you're just starting. And so it's a tragedy because they're really talented athletes washing out at 20 years of age. Don't have an education because their focus has been rugby. I'm going to be a rugby player, professional rugby player. And they get one contract, maybe 1.5, and they wash out of the programs. So for a sport that doesn't have that professional carrot there, how do we extend them past? Well, we extend them past by not burning them out at the front end. I see so many parents and they've got what they feel is the best interest of their kid at heart. Maybe short term, but long term, they're not going to cut it. They're going to wash out. They're going to be finished riding bikes at 19. Now, there's going to be a natural attrition anyway. We're just accelerating that because it was my parents' dream, not my dream.
I've definitely seen that on the track.
We see it everywhere.
As young as the kids at like the Hidden Vale kids races where the parents are running with them.
Yeah.
I've seen the comments being made by some of the parents.
Yeah.
And you can see the kids just about in tears, some of them, honestly. But,
and I know why the parents are trying to do it. They think they're doing the best, but
yeah,
we see it in so many sports, just over-parenting. Just let kids be kids.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see how we, I mean, it's not mountain biking in South East Queensland, but how we parent children now compared to, you were saying not home till the lights came on. and I think of how far I used to go on my BMX, I was suburbs away through the bush. And I think, would I let my kids do the same? And whether it's real or imagined, I think of the safety risk. But when I'm out, like even as an adult now, when I'm out in the bush on my own, I think there's actually very few people out here, and there aren't the nefarious types that we envisage out there. It's, the world is actually, the low probability, high consequence events are very hard to to move past. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, shark attack. There are people that won't swim in the ocean because they're afraid of the sharks. And it's like, it happens, but it's not going to happen to you statistically. You're more likely to have a car accident than you are to be bitten by a shark.
Yeah.
But, you know,
There was a statistic when I was involved in a neighbourhood play project. There was a statistic that was rolled out at some of these forum discussions that was, if you leave your child in a shopping centre or on the street, how long do you think it's going to be until they're picked up and stolen? And, you know, if you look at the data, it's literally years. Years and years and years and years. Like, it's statistically, they're not just going to get picked up within the hour by some random. It's way smaller chance than we realise. But the news, when you hear about these things happening, they bloody stick with you. That's the problem.
and if it is your child, you know, you'd never forgive yourself. So it's a real tough one. How do you let kids? Because we talked about getting kids to take risks.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have risky behaviour. People don't learn to self-assess what's truly dangerous, or, you know, like if I fall out of this tree, I'm going to hurt myself. If I jump from the top of the tree, having known that I would hurt myself from falling from, you know, halfway up, I'm going to be a bit more careful.
Yeah.
You know,
So my challenge for these elements is that by profession, I'm a health and safety manager. I'm a health and safety professional, have been doing that for 25 years. Will I let my kid climb up a tree? Yes, I did. We encouraged our boys to climb up trees. We encouraged our boys to go for a swim in the creek, assess how deep it is, and go, oh yeah, I can jump off that cliff, off that rock, and go and land in the water. It's that tolerance level that we get to understand what is my body capable of, and then push a little bit further. That's mountain biking as well. It's like, what are my technical skills capable of, and then push a little bit further. What is my physical fitness capable of, and push a little bit further. That's growth. But not being blind and stupid in what you're doing is stupid. So how do we do that as parents, as a club, as from a race perspective? How do we do that in our sport, in our life, to make it a little bit more, not risk tolerant, but better risk assessors? And that's the key.
Well, the challenge is that courage is being afraid of something and doing it anyway, and stupidity is the same.
I feel like I need to clarify. I wasn't telling people that you can leave their kids out for hours on the street or at the shopping centre if they're sick of them. But
do you know what? I've been out in places where I'm like, 'cause I used to work in public service, and I've come across kids on their own. I'm like, you're all right. You know, you lost, you help. And I've never yet been in the circumstance where I've gone, that individual looks a bit dodgy. There's a kid on their own over there. Most people, 99.9% of people, are helpful, trustworthy, like honest. We're so warped in our perception of these things. We play
to the 1% all the time.
It's not even 1%.
I know.
So yeah, no, it again, societal challenge.
Yeah.
But look, I think there's definitely a place for more play in biking. And I think you're right that
and in events, like we started off talking about chicks and sticks events. How do we have events that are fun?
Cyclocross does it really well.
Yeah, and they do.
And I think that you see that, and the summer sprints that the Rats have organised, that short, high repetition, short course, and it's about fun. And you see that for the kids' races. It's a separate, event. We're not asking them to do the whole lap.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think there's something to that.
Bring in a costume category for that one.
Well, single speeding used to be like this.
Yeah.
It used to be that the weird and wacky, and you've got an instant excuse. You don't have to be at the front. I was on my single speed. I would have cleaned that climb, but I'm on my single speed.
Oh, my tutu was getting caught.
Yeah, more beers than gears. I mean,
my only frustration is that when you are racing single speed and you're in amongst everyone else and you're going up a climb, if you hear of a single speed coming behind you, and you would experience this as well, please move out the road. Like, we're stand-up pedaling because we can't stop. And people will just write, I've got the track. I said, I know, dude, but I'm a single speed. I just need some momentum. Come on, please help a guy out.
Hook a brother up.
So no, it's all part of it though. So all part of it.
Yeah, I mean, but there is a really strong mountain bike ethos and community. I do find that mountain biking as a community is very accepting and very engaging. And, maybe people get a little bit antsy at the pointy end of racing, but actually not even the pointy end, it's the mid-pack. Just to slag I won't even go to exactly the demographic because that might be a bit much. But
You're not trying to call out Hubcap while he's not here, are you? No.
Oh, look, Hubcap.
No,
but this is one of Hubcap and I will duel on a racetrack, shoulder to shoulder. We're mid-pack, but we're having the time of our lives doing that because we know each other. But I do see people take it way too seriously. The blood's up, the adrenaline's flowing, and you're like, we're not racing for sheep stations. Yeah. And the guys that are racing for sheep stations
are long gone.
Not only are they long gone, they know each other. They race all the time, and they are so polite.
Yeah,
and
the Jason Englishes of the world who are chatting halfway around the course whilst climbing a 14% climb for the last 2Ks.
Yeah. So if you think you need to hog the track because you're ahead of the person behind you, just cool your jets. It's only mountain biking. It's not. No one's making money out of mountain biking, and I think that's a good thing. At the mid-pack level, at the enjoyment level, I think that's one of the things that keeps mountain biking fun. Is that it's not professional sport for almost everyone in Australia. I think there's not too many real pros that can make a living.
Hardly any.
So yeah,
I can think of 3, and even then, a third is probably a questionable one whether they're actually making a lot of money in terms of our elite. So
no,
the others are eking a survival rather than actually making a living. So
yeah.
But
I think that's not the worst thing in the world. Get out, ride your bike, enjoy it for what it is. If you want to compete with your mates, maybe see how good you are against yourself. That we've talked about this many times, whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic motivation, whether it's within or from outside achievement. But, I think that there's room for all of us, but have some tolerance for others while you're out there on the trail. Keep single track single.
I did listen to one of your podcasts earlier today.
For research purposes only.
Just to see what I was getting myself into. But I would love to see four-cross come back.
Four-cross, right.
We're talking about elbows out type racing. Let's make a place for people to do that.
Was that a chat with Jane? We were talking to Jane about four-cross. I know that much.
You were talking to Jane about four-cross. Yes, you were. So
I think it combines the short course, entertainment, competitive, and it's run and done very quickly. The greatest challenge with four-cross is the cost to build a course is too high.
It is, and insurance cost.
I think the entertainment value and racing your mates in that is really great. Slalom, old school slalom, where it's just witches' hats down a grass slope.
On the grass.
The speeds are low, the consequences are low. You can race your mates. It doesn't take. You can have it in any suburban park. I think that's a great fun format that could.
It's interesting you say that because I was talking with Ado left minute at Chicks and Six on the weekend. He was there just watching and supporting Anna, and we're talking about race courses. It doesn't matter what race course you get. The races will make the race. So having a trail, like you're saying, like a grass paddock, sloped, witches' hats, the races will make the race. So we've been spoilt with what we've got in terms of courses and trail networks to use, but really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you want to race, you'll still have fun. You'll still come off giggling and laughing. We've all done the 12-inch with beers down a slope.
Kids' bikes, adults on kids' bike races.
We've all done it, and we all come off killing ourselves laughing. So, that was the best ever. Let's go again. So, yeah, you can do racing any style, but what is it about at the end of the day? Coming off the bike at the end, like we're encouraging the kids, us as adults coming off the bike at the end of the day going, that was so much fun. How do we do more of that? How do we get rid of all this over-regulation that we have within the UCI framework for races that causes so much challenge for me as a race director or as a commissaire. How do we get rid of that so that we can just have people having fun on their bikes racing in for giggles, not for sheep stations? So,
well, that's the challenge for the next generation
It
of
is.
club president. We shall.
Now hand that over to the comment section. Comment section. Let's go. I feel like we do probably need to let Lonnie go as much as I don't want to. We've been chatting
Thanks,
for a while.
Lonnie.
have we?
We actually have, but I could keep chatting. So I'll ask you this: will you come back sometime?
If you want me to come back,
Clearly,
Sure.
we do. Yeah.
if your comments say no, Lonnie should never come back again.
Will you come
Then-
back?
then-
I think you've definitely been a winner, so you need to come back and challenge another one of our interview guests for the title as best interviewee. We'll have a panel set up.
Hilarious.
Bring back the buzzer buttons.
Oh yeah, sorry, Lonnie didn't get to play with the. We did a trivia quiz one time with the hot buttons and yeah.
No.
Yep.
I've got the yes, no ones. No.
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 Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure. So thanks for coming on, having a chat. And there's so much more, as Lachie said, that we could talk about. So
Let's face it, we all love mountain bikes. We can talk mountain bikes the whole weekend.
it's
And
very
it doesn't feel like
self-indulgent.
work.
It's kind of why we started this, just to chat with people, get their perspectives. Really great to have someone who's been sort of so vital to a lot of the races I've been involved in and the club and locally to me. I mean, you know, you've been involved in Scribbly Gums just here
Yep.
and Bayview. I was going to ask you when I was praising your presidency, is there, and we're going to go on for a bit more here. Sorry, Lonnie. Is there anything we haven't talked about that I know you've probably got a million secret projects or things that aren't as well known as beside the racing and stuff? Is there anything that we don't know behind the scenes that you've been involved in that we have
secret skill, hidden talent?
Not that I know.
Project-wise? No.
Is there anything you're currently cooking that you'd like to put out there?
I'm just thinking about where I'm going to ride next. My next riding holiday. So
I've asked the wrong question. You're like, don't care, just want to ride.
no, it's more of if you keep your foot in it, then you keep going. And for my enjoyment of mountain biking, I like my time in rugby is done. I don't have any desire to go back to rugby. I hardly enjoy the game anymore. They've overcomplicated, but it's a whole nother podcast that
You've called
Hubcap-
full time on it,
that Hubcap
and you don't need to try
Hubcap
anymore.
and I can
You
speak
need
about
Hubcap for that one.
Yeah, we could go on for hours on that piece. But for me, it's really important that I just find that enjoyment, and I found it really quickly. But if I go into more projects, then that enjoyment will take longer to get back and keep. So like we all go through our trials and tribulations of riding our bikes. Sometimes we love it, sometimes we hate it. Certainly after doing a 24-hour campaign, it's like 16 weeks of training and then a whole 24 hours of pain and suffering, which then lasts for another week afterwards. And you tend not to hop back on the bike too quickly, but unless you're crazy like Jason English, but it's a whole other story. He'll go riding the next day if he could. But yeah, for me, now that I've stopped, it's important that I do leave that space for others, and there'll be pieces around that Koala Coast trail network that we're really pushing for that I'll probably stay a little bit involved with. But yeah, we've got other club members who are really well versed in that space. Leo Newlands is our latest life member for the Rats that was done earlier this year. He can be a great representative now that he's not working in council. He can be a great representative for the club in that space on a program that no one knows better. All the easements that are available, no one knows better than him. So,
Well, I look forward to the next reinvention of Lonnie the mountain biker, and I hope to see you out on the trails, shredding them on your single speed or otherwise very shortly.
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.